Hey everyone, I am just going through some of my old interviews and reloading them up onto the internet on YouTube. This one I did in 2024 with Brit Elders. She had just written or put together a book called UFO Contact from the Pleiades, which was being released in 2024, April of 2024, as a 45th anniversary edition of her research and all the other things that she's published. So I felt like our discussion was pretty important, and I wanted to make sure it was still on YouTube. Um, I was very honored to have gotten to meet her and talk to her, but also that I got to read her book before it was available to the public and have a discussion about the various topics that were covered in the book. So I just wanted to share it again on my channel. I hope everyone enjoys it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. All right, let's do this. Today, I'm really excited to be speaking with Brit Elders, who is an investigative author and documentary filmmaker who traveled the world exploring the mysterious world of UFOs. She has worked on many in-depth investigations, including the Billy Meyer case and the waves of UFO sightings in Mexico, which began in 1991 and continue today. She has a newly released book called UFO Contact from the Pleiades, and I'm so happy that you're here today with me, Britt.
Thank you for inviting me, Daniel. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, I am too. I've been enjoying reading your book,
Oh, good.
especially, yes, especially that there are a lot of pictures.
It was originally released 45 years ago as a photo journal. That was volume
Yeah,
one. A couple of years later, we did volume two, and we decided, the topic is still relevant. So let's put it out there, both books together, and see what happens. It was wonderful.
awesome. So you had a successful business called Intercept, which was an electronic countermeasure company protecting clients from illegal wiretapping and eavesdropping. How did you get involved in doing UFO investigating to start with?
Yeah, it seems like a flip because we were working with Fortune 500 companies, financial institutions all around the world. A friend of ours, the Lieutenant Colonel Wendell C. Stevens, he was retired from the Air Force, called us and said, "You got to come down to Tucson." We were living in Phoenix at the time. We said, "Why?" He says, "It's important." So, okay, something's up. So we took off, went to Tucson, and when we got there, we met a wonderful woman named Lou Zinstock that was staying with Wendell, a Swiss researcher into all forms of the paranormal. She had purchased from Billy Meyer several 3x5 prints, had them blown up to 14 inches wide, and she had them with her, and they were all of UFOs. Well, of course, our initial reaction, because we're in a skeptical field anyway, but our initial reaction was, they're too good to be true. So Wendell kept prying. He kept saying, "You have to come join the investigation. I want to do this case. I want to know about this." He made a trip over to Switzerland, came back, and said, "Okay, guys, there's too much here. You have to go." So we had a sweep, is what we called them, in London. We were there for about 3 days, and then we decided to just catch a flight over to Switzerland and meet this Meyer character. When we got there, he was washing his face in a horse trough. He's a very normal, simplistic human being. He's a real person. We went in, there was a television crew there that was interviewing him at the time. And it was fascinating to listen to him talk about contacts, face to face meetings with extraterrestrials. And of course, we're thinking, primarily Lee, my husband, he just shook his head. He could not get into that. He could, yeah, okay, there might be UFOs, but contacts? So we spent, I think it was 5 days there, the first trip,
Mm.
trying to figure out how he did it. And just before we left, he gave us a shoebox full of things. metal samples, the inner negatives to many of the photographs. He'd taken hundreds of photographs, 8mm movie footage, and sound recordings of the craft. And he said, these are for you to take back to the States and analyze. And that's how we got involved. From there, it was 7 years of working on 3 different continents, trying to find scientists that would analyze the material we had without totally freaking them out. We were really fortunate. We had good contacts in certain areas that opened wonderful doors for us so that we could get into labs like Scripps Institute, JPL, places like that, that most people couldn't take UFO material into. And it was fascinating because nobody could disprove it.
How could Billy Meyer just meet you and then trust you enough to hand over this irreplaceable evidence,
Great
such as the
question.
metal and the film and the negative and all that stuff?
He was told by the Pleiadians that we would be coming. And he actually used me as the identifier, that I would have light hair, dark eyes, and he would know me when I walked into the room. And that was his trigger, that these 3 men and 1 lady were to have the evidence to have it analyzed.
You were sweeping places for wiretapping. How
Yes.
does that how does that lend itself to now becoming an investigator at all?
Well, my husband was already an investigator. He was a private investigator as well as we had the company Intercept. Um, Whether you're investigating eavesdropping, murder one, espionage on a corporate level, or a UFO case, you still have the same criteria. You don't go in trying to prove it, disprove it. You go in with an open mind, gathering all the information you can. From that point, you can take it and go further with it, but you have to have the basic information. So let's say we started with photographs. What do we do with photographs? Well, we took it to several different people that had backgrounds in photogrammetric analysis, including Jim Delatoso. Jimmy opened up the door to Michael Malin down at U of A, and the University of Arizona was doing scans on these. Then he opened the door to somebody else, and then that person opened another door, and it just kept building. And we just kept finding these wonderfully, incredibly brilliant people that didn't always agree that contact was possible, but couldn't disprove the things that we were providing to them.
Yes, and your book has each chapter on the different layers of evidence
Right.
from film, from photographs, metal samples, the landing areas, like just everything. You guys really turned over every stone, I would imagine.
We
So you
tried.
were there, yeah, you were there 7 years, you said, or on and off, going back and forth and doing this
Right.
investigation for 7 years.
Right.
Did did you ever witness a craft or have a contact?
Never saw a craft and never had a contact. However, we saw a lot of things we couldn't explain. One night we heard Billy leave, and he would take off on his moped or the tractor. Sometimes he'd walk back into the forest. So we went outside to wait for him to come back. Pitch black outside, no moon. All of a sudden, everything lit up with a blue white light above the trees, through the trees, under the trees, everything. Lasted several seconds, stopped, did it again, stopped, did it again. And we said, okay, what do we do with that? So we saw a lot of different things and experienced following Billy's footprints into the forest, into a clearing in a muddy field, and the footprints vanished. What do you
Oh,
do with that? You know, you put it on video, you film it as you walk back into the forest, and then the photo shows the tracks are gone. Where did he go? How did he leave? All of those become questions that you've got to push further and further into, because you only know that Billy is doing what Billy is doing. But when photographs and footprints indicate, okay, they stopped there and they didn't go anyplace else, and there's this huge field full of mud. Yeah.
I think the brain's ability to deny and try to justify is so strong that even that, I mean, I don't know. Everybody, you can look at pictures and stuff and still be like, no, no, I got to experience it for myself.
That's true.
Humans are funny that way. Was it ever determined why Billy Myers was chosen to have more than 100 contacts with Pleiadians
Well,
and
he said,
allowed to photograph their ship?
right. He said that he had a past life with him, and that's how they recognized him. And he said in the contact notes that Billy had recorded after each meeting with the Pleiadians, he said that what happens is he'd come in, write things down. One of the things they told him was that our ancestors were their ancestors. Literally, our forefathers were their forefathers. What do you do with that? So we started into the history of things because, again, it like UFOs, reincarnation is a very personal thing. A lot of people believe it, a lot of people don't. Did you have an incarnation on another star system, someplace out there? Is it all earthbound incarnations? What is it? So you end up going down all of these little trails as an investigator. You reach your own personal perspective on many things, but sometimes you can't really incorporate your personal perspective into the investigation you're doing. So you have to take that person's word for it. Billy told us he had had incarnations with the Pleiadians. So they knew him, they recognized his energy and his vibration. For me, that was not a big deal. That was pretty normal because I do believe in reincarnation. But many people out there are going to say, well, that can't be. Why would they choose a one-armed farmer?
That's right. That's right. And that's what I've been thinking. Like, he wasn't educated. He has one arm. He's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
Like, he's not the person that would be like, let's pick that guy. He could spread our message far and wide, and everyone will believe him.
right. But I don't think those people would be interested in the message. I think they would be more interested. The people that would have the name notoriety and the celebrity, I guess you would call it, are the ones that they would avoid because the celebrity aspect always brings it back to that person rather than to what the Palladians were trying to do.
Mm.
All of the cases that we've looked into, and several different contact cases besides Meyer, that's been the issue. It's a person that's in the middle of nowhere, usually.
Yeah.
The Rincon case in Peru, he was another Palladian contactee. Wonderful things to say. Did not want to talk to the press, did not want to talk to people. He was content being who he was and having the experiences he had. And yet he was told, let the people know we're out there. So all of these different cases come into play, and they're all normal people. They're not celebrities. They're not politicians. They're not people that, you know, everyone thinks should be talked to.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, aside from being, yeah, a celebrity and having the platform to say something to more people, there's
Mhm.
still credibility. Like, just I'm saying
Right,
when it happens, when the contactee is somebody that is just out in the sticks and they're a farmer, yes, they could be an honest person. I'm not saying that that means they're a
right.
dishonest person, but I'm just saying like this level of what society would deem credible witness.
That could be part of the problem. It's what society deems. To
Yeah,
me, a
society.
credible witness is somebody that is out in the sticks, doesn't have the technical capabilities, doesn't have the financial capabilities of creating this. And then go back even further because at that point in time, when Billy was having the contacts, when they started in 75, we didn't have personal computers. We didn't have cell phones to take pictures. We had old fashioned 8 millimeter cameras, 35 millimeter cameras, his with a broken viewfinder on it and broken lens. The technology was not there, and he didn't have access to anyone that did have it.
Well, and not only that, but he didn't have the other arm to even
That's right.
maneuver other kinds of cameras and get real fancy about it because he'd have to use a tripod and you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, yeah. No, I was looking at the pictures and they're amazing pictures in the book. And I was thinking that if those pictures came out today, I'd be like, ah, that's AI, that's photoshopped, that's generated
Exactly.
somehow. But back in
Do it today.
1965,
Yeah. But back then, we didn't have industrial light and magic. You know, this was before all of the great technology that's come into being.
did Billy Meyer ever photograph his main contact, Semyase?
No, he didn't. He did photograph people that he said came from a place called the Dahl universe. One's name was Ascot. That we can't prove, disprove. It's just something that Billy knows the truth to. But he never did film Samyasa. She said it would serve no purpose.
She says a lot of things in the book, and some of them made my ears perk up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go over some of the things that she talked about.
Sure.
Um, she said that the Pleiadians are 30 centuries more evolved than us,
Mm-hmm.
that they had help from beings more advanced than them, and that they came to Earth to create awareness of other intelligent life, good or bad, by our standards. This is from the book, human and non human.
Mm-hmm.
Is a being that is bad by our standards not considered bad by theirs?
Apparently not. Or I would have to say not necessarily, because we may look at someone that hmm, um, wants to contribute forcefully without, taking Earth into captivity or anything like that, but is very forceful in their presentation as being quote unquote bad. They may not. That just may be part of their nature. We also may look at extraterrestrial life with the concept that it has to look like us, but not all of it does.
Right.
So there are so many different things. We can only judge based on what our knowledge base is on this planet, but we don't know what the entire universe works as, how it looks, how it incorporates concepts of quote good and bad into anything.
Right. And I understand that good and bad and positive and negative can be a human construct. Um,
Perspective.
but yeah, a perspective. But when things like, for example, might be coming and harming some humans or all humans, I'm not
Mhm.
sure, and that we're perceiving that as bad. It's interesting that she says by our standards, and I'm like, what do you mean?
Well, they have standards too, because the Palladians told Billy about an intelligence, a energy intelligence that lived beneath the Giza pyramid in Egypt, and they labeled it as bad. So how they view good and bad and how we view good and bad may be similar but not exact. And I think that is a lot of what she was referencing.
Hmm. I wonder what a Palladian would consider bad and what it's doing, you
It's a
know?
really good question. Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Well,
so
I've got to throw this in there because one of the things that we found so interesting was the Palladians talked about something called auric stench. And that's what humans give off because
oh, yes, yes, or
yes,
stench,
because
yes.
we're so wrapped into our stuff and our ego and our greed and our it's hard for them to be around us. They can be on this planet for a while, but not for long because they can't deal with the human vibration. It's just still too base. I think we're improving. I think a lot of us are really trying to improve, but it's still pretty a base issue with humans.
I wonder if Billy Myers or didn't smell.
Yeah,
That's
right. Um, because they recognized his vibrations and that incarnation vibration thing that he had going with them, they could be with him for longer periods of time.
Hmm.
But
All
I
right.
think that had to be true for someone like the Rincon that I was telling you about down in Peru, because he also had longer conversations with his Pleiadian contacts.
Yes, this is your book is the first time I've heard of anything called or extension.
Yeah. I just, I love that term. It's just, it's something we should all try to get rid of.
Yeah, we worry about our physical stench, but
Right,
never our auric stench, and we
right.
should.
Yeah, we got to start working from the inside out, not the outside in.
Yeah. Okay, so according to Semyasi, and I hope I'm saying it right,
Yeah, so. Hmm.
Semyasa, events are pre-programmed into humanity's event clock, and it
Hmm.
can only be altered by a mass change in consciousness and awareness. Let's discuss this event clock and how it's different for us on Earth compared to how the Palladians have it.
Okay. It's kind of the same because if you have event A and event B, then event C is definitely going to happen. If you have event A happen and event C happens and skips B, it shifts the path of the future. So nothing is set in stone that this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. It's if this happens, then this will most likely happen. So it has a flow of its own. Um, it's something that we sat and talked with Billy around the kitchen table for hours on this because they have the same thing happening. They see one thing happening for their world, let's say, and something else follows it, then they know the future event is going to be X. And that's what it is. And it's sort of the same here.
So it sounds like a bit of like probabilities,
I
like you're
think it
saying
really
us.
is.
So if we can change an event like A, then maybe we don't go down this path where this is the most probable outcome.
But that has to happen through our consciousness, according to them. That has to happen when we shift and learn to move into higher frequencies, for lack of better terms. And we learn how to communicate on levels that are sincere and intelligent rather than being something that is, our communication now is all about name calling and finger pointing in so many areas. And it's so unfortunate because we don't learn. We have to be in a position to learn. So if we can raise that vibration of ours up a little bit, so we stop the name calling and we start communicating, then we can start foreseeing. All right, if this event happens and that event happens, the next logical is this one. And it just moves in that line.
The Palladians said that they have some limited control over their event clock because of purity of thought on a mass consciousness level. So
Right.
purity of thought was important or is important, and it would be
Is
important
important.
for us to start having.
Absolutely. And to lose that anger and that finger pointing attitude I was talking about, because that's where direct, real communication comes from. Also, they have such wonderful telepathic abilities. We need to redevelop those because that keeps everything on the straight and narrow. You can't lie if you're dealing strictly with telepathy. You can't mislead anyone. It's just what it is.
Yes, I love that. That would be amazing because lying is
Absolutely.
so. Ugh.
Hmm.
So the um the event clock was said to be governed by cause and effect.
Right.
Is that similar to karma?
Wow. That's a really good question. I
Thank you.
would think so. Um,
Because cause effect is a
yeah,
universal law. So it makes sense to me that Palladians accept that it's universal law.
right. That would make absolute sense. Although Billy never said that to us, and I never read it in the contact notes. It does make absolute sense that it is a cause and effect because it's, the one incident happening leading to the other, leading to the third. And so it does have a flow to it. Yeah.
All right, another thing that she said, because I find everything so interesting, is the event clock allows humans to control their destiny, but it says elsewhere in the book that the Pleiadians are not interfering in our Earth power structure. Why is it important for us as humans to be responsible for our own destiny? And the
Mm,
following line said, solely liable for our own errors.
right. If we create the problem, we need to have the responsible part of ourselves to be able to fix it. That is something that is big with them, and they had to learn it in their own journey of growth as well. And they say it's one of the basic fundamentals that we humans, as well as every other culture out there, has to go through. If you have an action and it creates a reaction, you have to be responsible for what that creates. So it becomes very important to not only keeping your mind clear and focused on what you're doing, but also keeping your heart clear and focused too. Um, they are not going to jump in and save us. They did say, and I found this interesting, that they were not allowed to interfere yet. Yet being the operative word.
Yeah, so I find all this interesting. I think a lot of people are always thinking that maybe aliens will jump in and keep us from pushing the button on the nukes, like and starting.
That they might do.
And they always, but yes, and I did see a line about something, and there was a sort of an addendum to them stepping in, and I think I have it in my questions. Um, First of all, Semyasi said their belief about humans' ability to progress here on Earth,
Mhm.
as the Palladians have done, that they were not positive about our ability because they said on Earth we have an imbalance between our tech advance and our ideological differences.
Mhm.
And they said we can't be fortunate like the Palladians were at the same point of development because we presently can't escape Earth and we are not concerned or prepared for the dilemmas that we're causing. So we barely can get a rocket on the moon,
Yeah.
which is not livable to us.
Right.
So what are we doing to our planet?
Yeah. But at the same time, they say we're infants and we shouldn't be exploring space yet because whatever we drag with us into space is going to have a reaction out there. So at this point, we need to more or less focus on what we can do to heal ourselves. They're not concerned about the planet. They are, well, they are, this is strange. They're concerned about the planet. They're concerned about biodiversity and all of that that goes into the forests, the oceans, the air, everything. But the planet will survive. People, on the other hand, may not, because people have to grow and we're not maturing. We're growing, we're getting wise, we're getting technology, just is everything we do now. But our spiritual side, our internal growth is not what's happening. And that's where the focus to the Pleiadians needs to be. They say we've got to have more interest in our own personal spiritual growth. And by spiritual, I do not mean religious. I mean growth as an individual, growth towards purity of thought, growth towards knowledge, heartfelt knowledge, not necessarily educated knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Um, she did say that we were incapable of changing our mass consciousness on Earth. And she had these three examples of why. One was that we're exterminating each other.
Mm-hmm.
One is that we're destroying all life forms.
Mm-hmm.
And we're destroying our critical life support systems, which I think she meant our air and
Oxygen and
our
water.
water. Yeah. So the thing that popped into my head, I mean, automatically was the way we're burning torching down our rainforest that makes our air to make hamburgers, and how everyone on the planet by now must know that the diet they might be eating is not sustainable for 9 billion people, and yet they still
Right.
stampede through the fast food line and don't seem to care about the bigger picture.
Well, not just the bigger picture, because it all starts with you as an individual. So you've got to look at it from the standpoint of what you intake. And then what you share, the information you as an individual share with others, that information may just touch one person, and that person may touch another person, and we start a change that way. But to try to make a massive change on this planet with all the different political systems and political values, monetary issues, big agri, big pharma, all of that stuff at play, it won't happen. So you have to start on a grassroots level, individual to individual, community to community, and then it starts really snowballing. But we have to be responsible for what we put into our bodies, how our bodies react to that, and why. Then we can share it with someone else. Maybe that person is interested and they share, and it keeps going.
I think people feel this idea that they're only one person, and so what they do isn't going to matter
Yeah,
because they're not going to change the world, one person. I personally don't subscribe to that, and so I live by what I feel is right. Um, but I would love to see more people adopt that idea that one person does matter.
absolutely. Because each of us, we're a collective, but we're individuals, and we each have something to contribute. It's our choice what we contribute. Is it going to be beneficial to ourselves and to others, or is it going to be harmful and detrimental? I know what my choice is, so that's where I am. But yeah, and everybody has to find that, because you innately have the knowledge of, and I hate to use these terms, good and bad, right and wrong, all of that definition stuff, because there is a lot of gray down the middle there, but you have to find a balance, a harmony. We live on a third dimensional planet. It's a thump on it planet, but there are other existences that we don't see, other realms we don't explore all the time. We need to be open to all of it. And it's sort of a nourishing of the soul, just as we nourish our bodies. You have to be responsible for what you put into your heart.
That's true. I love that. I feel like recently I was tested a little bit on that, like purity
Mm,
of heart. It was very small. It was very, very small and insignificant, but I just felt like, well, I got to do the right thing and do that one right thing. And it
right.
did pay off, and I got a reward for my right thing. So I think we are we are sort of judged in a, I don't know who's doing it, if it's aliens or whatever, but they can tell, like purity of heart, purity of thought, and it
Think
adds
it's
up. And I do
creational
think,
value. I really do.
yeah,
Not necessarily angels or God or demons or whatever. I think
no,
it's creational. I think it is a universal issue of that, the purity of mind and heart. Very, very important. And I think the more, and I'm happy to say, I've run into more and more people that really find that value coming up in their life. The more that changes, the more receptive we will be to so many other things.
now, the only time Samyasa says Palladians would involve themselves in matters pertaining to Earth is to prevent a cataclysm that would affect the depths of cosmic space.
Right.
Now, that was the line that I was like, I don't know what we could possibly do on Earth that would affect cosmic space,
Mhm.
but I imagine it would not be good.
In our conversations with Billy, he said nuclear war, a massive, not just one nuke or two nukes, but a massive nuclear conflict would have to be stopped, because it would reverberate through the universe. And that energy of the destruction, the Pleiadians know about, because their home civilization was destroyed. They had to leave it, go to a new planet, engineer that planet so they could exist there, and then that became their home base. So that That's what they're looking at with us. And they think we're smart enough that we won't attempt that, but they're not 100% certain.
They're waiting for the A event.
Yes, yes, exactly. And apparently we've been there several times, but we went A happened, it skipped B, and it went to someplace else. So that made a difference. Yeah.
Well, what about, I mean, what about this shift people are talking about, like
Mhm.
this 5D shift? I mean, is this not also our collective consciousnesses sort of raising
I
up?
I think it does raise the frequencies. I don't think it's going to happen all at once. I don't think it's going to happen for everyone. I think on an individual basis, again, it comes back to that one person and that one person sharing, oh, this happened and this is something I experienced, then goes to another person and another and another. And it becomes this raising of the frequencies of humans. And the Pleiadians call us earth humans. They define that very clearly, the earth human.
Yeah, that was another thing I noticed in the book. Earth humans, like they might be a human on, but they're an era human, or they're,
And their vibration is different than ours. It doesn't function with ours, nor would ours with them, unless we had been through the proper training and maybe had a past life recognition with them. But it's something that we just have to raise our own frequencies. That's all.
I know that the things that she said about us and the event clock and our likelihood of success was said in the 70s. So I wonder,
Sorry.
no worries.
My water went down the wrong way.
I'll just edit it out and start over with my question.
Oh, goodness. Try it again. Hmm.
You okay?
Yeah, I swallowed wrong. Okay.
Okay. So I know that what she said about our probability of succeeding as the Palladians did was said in the 70s. So I'm wondering, because it's been 50 years since then, if our probability for success is any higher with
I don't know. I haven't talked to Billy about that. And I have been in communication with him and we go back and forth quite a bit, but that is something I will ask him. But
yeah,
he
I well
seems
when you
so
find out, let me
comfortable.
know.
I will. I will. But he seems so comfortable with how he's doing in life that he's still on the farm. It's still not, he's still just a normal person. And he's older now. He's in his 80s.
Hmm.
And he just feels like he's done what he needs to do. Now it's all up to the rest of us.
She had some views on reincarnation that I wanted to talk about. She said that our life, and I don't mean like my lifespan, but like the whole, many lives, is divided into seven major periods, and those are divided into seven sub-periods.
Mhm.
Each step provides knowledge and development towards a distinct goal.
Right.
Um, Time between the incarnations can be days or centuries. If life ended early by accident or intention, it will have to return to re-experience that period. What is the end goal we are achieving with all these seven periods and subperiods?
Purity of
That's
spirit.
it's what?
Purity of spirit.
Okay, so what Semyasi says about the seven planes and subplanes is the closest that I've heard to what my shaman has described when he said, like, I closed my ring here on Earth. And
Hmm.
when I asked him about the ring, he said, I'm not coming back because I closed the ring. I'm done. And he said, there's seven rings. And and he said that this is the hardest one. So I'm not sure if like maybe there's many planets that are in the third dimension
Right.
or lower,
Right.
and maybe that is one ring that we've got to kind of work our way through getting through it.
I think it's probably the hardest because it's so polarized And it's such Billy always said it's really important to maintain a balance, uh, where you're not drifting one direction or the other, but an internal balance of spirit. The polarization here on this planet and on others is really almost impossible to navigate unless you're maintaining a balance. And when you've got that balance, then you succeed. You can go on. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've always had this mantra in my head, an even keel. To
Yeah.
keep an even keel, like through the rough water, you keep your even keel and you don't go real emotional and crazy.
The harmony is so important because
Yeah,
if you can maintain that harmonious aspect of self all the time and not go one direction or the other, you're just moving through life and it's helping you. It doesn't hinder you. Throws up little roadblocks to remind you it's there, but it's nothing this, really combative with you. And you have a, as Billy says, more joyful life.
that would be wonderful. I think a lot of people struggle with that,
Yeah.
like for real. Um, and I wonder, so the seven other rings, and
Uh-huh.
Michael Shaman said that they're easier to close, that they're faster. This one is the longest one, this one's the hardest one. He didn't talk about any subplanes or anything like that, but it kind of reminds me of when you get your belt in karate and you like,
Yeah.
and then you go up one color, one plane, but then you start getting the stripes on your belt as you're getting closer to the next one. So
Right.
those are the subplanes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that whole.
It is because every life has, according to Billy, every life has a progression you have to reach. And that's important for your progress through that system, through one of those seven levels. And you continue it and continue it and continue it. When you achieve it, you're ready to move on. You don't need any of those old lessons. So it is like a karate class where you're just moving forward. This is supposed
Aside
to
from the
be
fighting part of karate, but yeah, it's a
this
struggle.
is supposed to be one of the hardest of the seven levels that he talks about. Absolutely.
Do you think it's the bottom level, like the
I'm not
first?
sure it's the bottom. I actually think there are others that are less advanced than we are. And I'm not talking technology. I'm talking advancement of spirit and heart. And I do believe that those other civilizations do exist
On Earth or elsewhere?
elsewhere. Yeah, I think there's a few here too, but yeah.
Mm,
But we
yes.
all have to progress at our own levels. So if you have these however many billion, 9 billion people on one planet, they're each going through a different aspect of lessons they, as individuals, require. Has nothing to do with you. You have your own business to take care of. And that's why it goes back to the individual and the perspective of one individual can change the world.
I love that.
Yeah.
I I feel like sometimes, it can become really egotistical too to be like, oh, well, I close my ring. But, I'm not, and it's not I don't feel like it's a race, it's like
Right,
we're all exactly where we should be and where we're meant to be and
right.
working towards what we're doing. So it's not a race, it's not a finish line, it's not a.
Yeah, because it isn't about everyone. Every every person is interrelated and interconnected to the next. But every person has their own personal journeys that they have to go through. And that's based, as we talked about earlier, laws of karma, the reactions of one action and what that produces. All of that becomes very, very important when you're trying to figure out and understand where you stand in a community, whether it's a small little community, a village, a town, or a galactic community. It still comes back to you as the individual and where you maintain that space, that harmony within.
So in the 70s, Semyasis said that Earth had been visited by 108 different extraterrestrial species.
Right.
Now, that was 50 years ago. Where do we know? Is there more? Has there been more than just that? Or what
I
can we expect?
haven't asked Billy, but I would think that there have been more since then. Yes.
Because that's a long time. That's 50
Oh,
years. And
yeah.
there,
Yeah.
what can we expect? Well, I know that let's talk about Mexico too, because I know that you've also been down in down, was it Peru, Mexico,
I've
multiple
been
UFO.
all
And
over. Yeah. Ecuador, Peru, Mexico.
how are those similar or dissimilar to the Billy Meyer
They're so
case?
different. They're so different. Americans are so focused. I'm trying to find a nice word here. Focus on what they're doing. It's it's in the immediate. They have to take care of. They have to do. They don't take time to live life. In
Hmm.
Latin America, these people are amazing. The sightings began in 1991 with the eclipse. They continue today. They are still dragging grandma and the kids and everybody to hills to watch the UFOs at night.
Hmm.
They just accept them. There's no fear. And they said, well, they've been here. They haven't hurt us. So why should we be afraid? Why is everybody else running around telling us we have to be afraid? There's
Hmm.
no reason for it. So they're looking at it from their perspective. I think their religious background, mainly Catholic, sort of gives them that impetus to believe in magic and miracles.
Mm-hmm.
And to them, they kind of look like, oh, okay, they're coming back again because it's all through their history. At Teotihuacan, it was the seat of the stars. There is an entire pyramid complex laid out to the Pleiades. The Maya have their reverence for various star systems, and they all have a history of different cultures, but primarily Pleiadians coming in to help them throughout their history. So it's very interesting when you get into the Latin American mindset that they're not afraid of it at all. They love it.
Yeah, I watched some of the, was it congressional hearings
Oh,
recently and stuff. And,
mm.
a lot of the questions are about like, well, could we shoot it down if we tried? I'm like, what the
Let's
heck?
do something with that mindset. Yeah. That's exactly what Samyasa was talking to Billy about. We have to stop trying to take each other out. I mean, what is the point and purpose to that? You learn nothing from it.
Yeah,
You harm someone else and yourself.
it
But
does.
yeah, we have that mindset.
Yes. I don't, yeah, I noticed that in the hearings, and it seemed like a lot of the questions were about,
And to be afraid.
yeah, and whether our technology could keep up and we can overpower and that. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, they kept saying, well, we should be afraid of this, and thinking, my God, you guys have been watching these things and tracking them since the 40s, definitely, but throughout history. And now we're supposed to be afraid of them?
Yeah, they haven't hurt us yet, and probably you trying to hurt them all the time.
Right. And it's unfortunately, it's a few that get that loud voice out there. The ones that are afraid, the ones that are angry and want to shoot them down.
Yeah.
Because most people, even in the government, are curious. They don't want to hurt them. They just want to know why they're here and what they want.
And they
I
want their
can understand.
technology.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Um, we could learn a lot from them, but we have to learn in a different way.
Mm.
Technology isn't going to solve our problems.
I don't think we're going to learn from the government down, though.
That's right.
Like, it's got to be from the grass up.
That's
Like,
right. I agree. I think that that's very true. It goes back to that individual thing. You
yeah,
learn, you share.
I love that. I love that it keeps going back. We're having a theme here.
Yeah, absolutely.
What can we expect for the future with contacts? Uh, what do you think?
Oh boy. Um, I think more and more contactees will come forward. I think that the stigma has been lessened thanks to the government in part coming out,
Yeah.
but because there are so many now. I think that stigma's decreased and people will start coming out and speaking about it more, opening all of us up to more contact.
That would be good.
I think a lot of it
A
goes
lot
on
more
a
on.
telepathic method too.
You mean the contacts?
Contacts, yeah. That it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be face to face or communicative verbally. It has to be something where you're centered and there's sort of a flow of energy between the two beings.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is kind of, want to say, because I see them myself,
Uh-huh.
it's on the astral or out of body or third eye stuff,
Right.
like it's not as physical as like Billy Meyer's case.
Right.
So I noticed also, before we started this interview, that you are the CEO of ShirleyMacLaine.com.
Right.
And it made me so curious because she also wrote the foreword to your new book.
Right.
How are you connected to Shirley MacLaine?
Shirley and I have been best friends forever. She's an amazing woman. We took her to Switzerland back in the 80s. She wanted to meet Meyer when she was writing Out on a Limb. And what she did was the character portrayed in Out on a Limb is actually three different individuals composited into one. So she spent 5 days with Meyer driving him crazy. She's a question machine. And every question you can imagine, she was there with the tape recorder. What do you have to say? What about this? What about that? It's really something. But she and Billy got along well.
That's
And we've
awesome.
been friends ever since.
So you met because of the
She
case.
actually called us and said, I want to go to Switzerland after Volume 1 came out. I want to go to Switzerland and meet this Meyer person. And my husband says, I don't care who you are. I'm not running tours. And he hung up the phone. Yeah. So it was from there, she called back and says, no, I'm serious. I'm writing a book. We started talking. And so we took her back to Switzerland with us.
Amazing. So you have some more future projects coming up?
I've got two more books, one that just came out. It's called A Happy Move that I co-authored with Deborah Jacobs, and another book that is called Another Step Up the Mountain with Deanette Wells. Amazing story of an incredible woman. She's a adventure sports advocate. She's climbed the seven summits. She's done eco challenges, eco races. Amazing woman. Plus, she suffered the loss of her son. And it explains how she used that, the challenges that she was in, and the climbing and everything else, mountaineering, to get through the loss of her son. And she's really a remarkable woman. So those are two of my projects, and then UFO Contact from the Pleiades. Yeah.
Wow, busy.
Yes.
Okay,
But I
so I
love
know you have a website. It's britelders.com,
it.
and
Right.
we'll put the email link and the website link in the video description. But I did want to leave you with an opportunity to say a final message from your heart.
Yeah. My heart says this. I think we're all ready to grow. And I think now is the perfect time to do it, to start opening to what life can provide us on an internal level. The lessons we can learn and the way we can move forward can stir so many things that can be wonderful for you as an individual and us as the world.
I love it. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Yeah, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed this, Danielle. I hope we get to do it again.
Yeah, let's go to Switzerland.
Okay.
I
I'm
try to
gonna,
invite myself to everything.
why not? Way to get things done.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank anyone who watched this interview today. And if you like this kind of content, be sure to like, comment. We love to hear from everybody and to subscribe to the channel. And to everyone out there, I would like to say, have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you like this content.